Okay, so that seems to have worked. Um, so this is my pre-interview research on Skytree. So this is also going to be a new user experience. This is what a new user coming to their site sees about Skytree. So first, I make sure I'm at the right place, skytree.home. I got there by Google, and my goal is to find out more. I'm working in a business, I'm working for government. So here's my user profile. I am working as a consultant for government, and in fact I am. And we have sfdata.gov, which provides government data, but they've actually come by where I'm volunteering at SF in Progress, and they've been making pitches and starting user groups on how people can use their data more. And what they found is that it's not accessible. It's just a raw database dump. So we need some ways of visualizing that data. One of my colleagues at Code for America is working on a campaign finance reporting application that is having trouble finding out who really paid for what. There's a lot of data, and some businesses use the same name, and other businesses are like parents of businesses, and they're really like donations from the same business, only like through child companies or stuff like that, or by an individual name. So they want to figure all that out, and Skytree would be a good solution for that. Um, so I'm a government representative thinking of using Skytree on our data portal because, hey, anything to engage the public. And in fact, looking at your website, I see government solutions right down here. Um, Analyze structured and unstructured data sets, find patterns and anomalies, and make predictions and future events. Now, in fact, where I work was for data, was for SFGov, and we have data.sfgov. And we have stuff in here too. Housing and buildings is what my volunteer work at Code for America is about. We're creating a map to encourage housing construction activism. So they seem to be following us. Every time we build a feature, like this, view the pipeline map for Q1 2014. They added this just like a couple days after we added ours. We built ours. It's like we've got all their data, right? Um, because it's open data, but it's just raw data feeds. So um, our group is SF in Progress, and we aim to map housing construction data. Um, they've been sort of taking our bright ideas and watching us develop and code them, and then just ripping them off and copying them on their own site. I guess that's success. Our goal is to make these things happen. We don't need, as a nonprofit, to actually run the website. We're pretty happy with just getting SFGov to implement the features that we have implemented in ours. So this is actually pretty neat. Um, Now we use who do we use? This is I researched the visualizations we have now. Um, there's no smart visualizations. Mapping is probably the smartest thing we have. Most of our data is not at all with SFGov. It's not maps. So let's go back. Let's see. Explore the property information map. It's kind of a map. I've been looking at these. They're totally like sponging off us, but this is weird. I don't know what this is. This data extraction tool is available to link tools to the right. External website. Okay. Yeah, there's this here where they show zoning and as well. So I guess I put something down there and then it tells me things about it. That's kind of cool, actually. Hello? Yes.
Steve, it's Maria from SkyTree. How are you?
Good, Maria. How are you today?
Good. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late here. So got a little off track, but I did want to chat with you. I know there's been some emails going back and forth between Robert Hass and me, and the hiring manager and all that. So I just wanted to kind of bring you up to speed on all that. So we are a small startup, about 50 of us. We do predictive analytics using machine learning methods, software, and we have a tech stack of, in the organization of high-performance computing, which is basically C on Linux, and then we have a distributed systems layer, which is Java, and distributed systems as needed for certain clients, and then a front end, of course, which is your typical HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So we are adding that UI element more to our product than we've had in the past. We sell to data scientists, so it hasn't, because it's been sold to a pretty technical audience. I think that the emphasis has been more on the functionality versus the pretty UI. But we're getting better at that, and we're also getting we're continuing to add to that. So that's kind of a rundown on where we have been and where we are now. And so this role is going to be part of a small team of UI developers, but we don't have a UX person right now. So we're hoping to find a UI person with, a good sense of design, who's maybe, worked in conjunction with designers in the past, etc. So I showed your resume to our lead UI person, and he said it looked great, but he thought you might be more UX than UI. So that's kind of one of the reasons I was asking some of the questions that I did. So I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about what you've done and what your focus has been and what you want to do.
Sounds great. Where should I start?
What was that?
Should I start, or do you have some targeted questions?
Sure, you can start.
So your job sounds delightfully fun.
Okay.
I would love to be coding with D3. Actually, that's your JavaScript app, one of your requirements. I think it was actually one of several requirements. We're actually using that where I volunteer at Code for America, where we're using it in a map. I went through the tutorials. It was fun. I really miss that kind of work. I've done some high-level, really nitty-gritty code stuff throughout my entire career, from back when I was a computer science major at the Academy of Art at University of Colorado way back then, and I published a math book for my professor. So I'm good with hard math. I'm totally good with programming. I've done some high-level work in Java, and I get by in a couple other back-end languages like PHP. But mostly I'm not a hardcore coder who whips out code. Mostly what I do is I take code and I edit it and I modify it. So if you've got, and actually, I kind of do it for what you're doing. My last job was at Department of Public Works, a government agency, and they have a large data portal that, in fact, they've come to us at our volunteering place looking for ideas on how to get people to use it more because they think it's not engaging and it's hard for people to visualize the data because right now what sfdata.gov is just a big data dump, right? It's all unstructured, it's not related. And like one of our volunteering teams is working on a job to a project to mine this data and find out how much people are getting campaign donations and who they're getting them from. Now that's terribly complicated because some companies use different names and some are like parent companies of other companies. So we want to sort of understand all that and graph that. And that's one of the things, though, one of the people I volunteer with at Code for America is working on. So I really enjoy the coding and the hands-on JavaScript and getting into that sort of stuff. And I'm really kind of just looking for an excuse to like jump in and learn D3. I was looking at the tutorials and it looked fun. It's not something I view as complicated or difficult. But that said, my skills are a little rusty. Most of my serious, like hacking the DOM type code in JavaScript was actually using the old school JavaScript, just native JavaScript, because a lot of my good work was before we even had jQuery, and I was like making up JSON. Okay, so I've got a real solid background in code, and I always kind of dip into the design side of my career, and then I end up with the code. Usually, it's the code part that pays me money.
Right. Well, would you be happy with just a coding job? I mean, we will probably eventually get a UX person at some point, but at this point, we do need a coder. I mean, that's basically one of the things that was just that our lead person wanted me to cover with you to make sure that you would be okay with that and be happy with that. Although, knowing what I know about the team, I think somebody that has a little bit of UX experience, bent, and design skills would be an asset as long as the coding skills were up to the standard we need for the role, and also that you'd be okay to do that.
Yes, I think I am definitely okay with doing that kind of code-centric work. And, spending, I expect probably, what do you think most of my time would be? To start up, we're looking at out of a 40-hour week, you're probably looking for this position, 35 hours of coding, 20 hours of coding? How much coding? And after the initial settling, what would you say the job is looking for?
Good question. I could ask Vlad that, what actual percentage of coding is done, and get back to you. Because that's a very good question that I've never actually really thought to ask. He may say 100%, that's all you do. But I'm sure there are different aspects to it, of course, right? You have to, there has to be some communication with different, the different areas, in our organization for sure, that high performance computing guys and the distributed systems guys and our product manager, et cetera, et cetera. Probably a lot with our product manager. So let me find out and get back to you on that. I wanted to just go over. There are a couple of questions that Vlad has asked that I ask every UI person that I pre-screen. And that'll kind of give us both a good understanding of what he's looking for in the role. Hang on a second. My questions. Here we go. So first of all, he would like to know, in your opinion, what would you consider your strongest suit of the three? HTML/DOM, JavaScript, or CSS?
HTML. What was the second one? Did you say Flash DOM?
I said HTML DOM is how he worded
Oh,
it.
slash D. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
DOM.
slash DOM, CSS and JavaScript. Those three things.
Probably my strongest is Java. I'm good in all of those. So
Okay.
the strongest is definitely CSS. I'm always up on the latest HTML5 tricks. Now, I should say that my skills are half research and half production in CSS. Actually, probably more production, which means the ability to do things fast using Firebug or the Chrome debugger and developer toolset.
Okay.
With HTML and the DOM and all that, you're talking about old school JavaScript.
Yes.
And I would say I'm rusty. I did some incredibly advanced work, but that was like a while back. So that's probably my weakest suit.
Okay.
And but only in the short term that I have to go through some tutorials to use D3.
Gotcha.
So that's going to be like a couple week learning curve probably before that, and then hopefully I could jump in to like one of those technologies and not have to start off with all of those technologies.
Yeah.
What are the skill sets of the people I'd be working with? Am I like supposed to come in and tell them things they don't know?
No. Well, right now we have a team of one very senior person. He's kind of he's the lead, and three rather junior-ish people, but still very, very talented. And their main skill is JavaScript. Really, I mean that's what the test is. The coding test is we require it to be done in JavaScript. And hang on, there's a question that I want to read this question to you that's on another pre-screen questionnaire I'm supposed to ask people. Hang on one second. Scorecard for pre-screen. Okay. All right. One of them was, let's see, JavaScript. Do you or have you had in the past the ability to write JavaScript without frameworks?
Absolutely.
Okay. You said you did some advanced work, so I assumed that?
Yeah, I created a whole freaking shopping cart system and inventory management system in JavaScript before jQuery existed.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So usually somebody like you that has worked with, I used it way back when in the day before, like you said, before AngularJS, etc. Usually, you can get up to speed again pretty quickly because you do know the basics. You haven't just learned some of the tools, and that's all you know. So, that would be. I would imagine that you would need to come up to speed on JavaScript. That would be something you're going to be using a lot. AngularJS is something we use, and we use CSS3 and HTML5, right, the latest version. So I don't know when you say CSS is your strongest. Have you used CSS3?
I love CSS3.
Cool. Okay, good.
But usually you shouldn't design an interface. Generally, you kind of use CSS3 in a little different ways than you do CSS.
Oh, okay. Whatever you say. I'm a recruiter, so there's only so much I know. I can only go so far in the technical talk, and I'm just trying to get a general sense of your match for the role. So that's that question. Let me ask the others that I have. The other question I have for you is what MVC frameworks you've used.
So here I'm pretty light. I've been urging my teammates back at SFDPW to use an MVCM framework. And I initially wanted to go with Angular because it's good. But we wanted something that was actually integrated with Kendo UI because Kendo UI is sort of a framework that's really good on the front end data visualization mode. It lets us do things like a drop down list box with photos in it and stuff like that. That's really, really great. And it lets us do it easily, and it has very few dependencies. So we kind of settled on that in a planning stage. Now I have a little bit of experience with that. That's model view view model, not
model view model. It's called
MVVM. Yes.
Okay.
Now Angular is a model view controller system. It's actually got a controller element instead of a view model. I don't have any work experience with Angular except for what I did when I reviewed it. So when I was making specifications for SFDPW for the Department of Public Works, when I was speccing out how our team should use and what JavaScript libraries we need to make it look good, I was picking out, do we need Angular or can we get by without it? Because for some reason they wanted very few JavaScript dependencies. It was silly, but it was a question of their organizational maturity model being a little bit farther behind. So they weren't quite ready for a lot of JavaScript dependencies yet. But I pushed them. For it. And so I was looking at AngularJS, and from the reviews it looks great. They're all kind of the same. They all sort of assign some variables, and I can talk a little bit about how my understanding of it is, but no production experience, and just like going through tutorials and being a fanboy.
Okay. And that may be something that you can discuss maybe at a phone interview with Vlad, kind of what your thoughts are. And I know one of the things that we look for on this particular role, and I mentioned this to Matthew, the recruiter at Robert Half, this particular role requires two design or code tests, one is a JavaScript test and one is a design test. And if you do well on the basics, right, the basic JavaScript test, we know that you can actually do the core competencies. Then we would ask for a little bit more of design. And what we're trying to determine with our tests is, how do you approach problems? What kind of, are you able to write elegant code? How do you approach coding and software engineering? And that's really what we look for. And we would imagine that that anybody that gets a job here would appreciate the fact that everybody that works here, we think, has the ability to write good, elegant code. So you're not working with a bunch of junk and trying to stumble around and deal with other people's bad code, just so you know. Okay, so what type, this is probably the part that you'll have more experience in the next set of questions. What type of data visualization have you used in projects?
Actually surprisingly little. Data visualization is one of my joys. I did some great stuff at the Academy of Art University for, projects. But professionally, nobody's wanted great data visualizations. So I haven't had a chance to build many. The closest, the trick to data visualizations is really picking a system and and when I say system, I mean like a JavaScript system. For instance, Timeline.js. Today, I was working on Timeline.js to make an interactive timeline. Now, that's just one JavaScript library, and it's one of my favorites. But is that really a visualization? It's a timeline, you interact with it. I think it's a visualization. I don't think visualizations are just graphs and charts.
No, they're not. I agree. I totally agree. And in fact, my boyfriend wrote a book on data visualization, so helping him edit it, I have a lot of insight that maybe some other people don't have about really what is data visualization. And you're absolutely right. It's not just bar charts and graphs. It's lots of things. Have you ever done any graphs at all over the years? Any kind of graphing need, even if it's for a project that's school.
like D3 would be good for.
D3. Yeah, exactly.
Let me think about that a little bit. See, the last time somebody let me use code to create draft, because usually it's just not something they want. Like, I put placeholders in for to recommend and suggest they could use graphs. In the data reports they were having me make at Department of Public Works, they had me make like a cost control database app. Did you get the link in the email?
Oh, yes. And I'll forward that to Vlad as well. I haven't done that yet, but I was going to do that with my notes from our conversation.
Okay. I'm sorry, what was the question again?
The question was, have you ever created or modified any graphs, any kind of graphs, even if it was an academic project?
Yeah, some, but just like stupid little pie charts.
Okay. All right. We got the question about the single page application, so I'll just forward that over to him. In your mind, or in the way you tackle your project, how do you ensure that you deliver high quality UI?
Testing, but not the kind of testing you're thinking of. High quality UI, it's two parts testing. There's the actual mechanics and the graphics and the code behind it. But there's also use case testing.
Yes, that's actually one of his examples of answers you could give.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, use tests. Yep.
Should I stop there or should I keep going?
Huh? What was that? Okay, keep going. Whatever you can think of.
Oh, so yes, there's use case testing, and then there's also behavioral testing, such as what sort of behavioral encouragements at each step of a use case or an interaction reinforce behavior, or which are discouraging, and about how much. And you can actually say sort of, like this button is marginally harder to find here than there. And you kind of want to break all that stuff down and sort of do a little pro and con for your designs a little bit, or at least do a user review afterwards and, go through it and actually use it yourself with the screen recorder on. And then I would say, oh, look, I tried clicking I got confused, and this is what I thought while using the application. So I guess guerrilla usability testing.
Yeah, usability. Great. Perfect. All right. Well, have you talked to anybody about your salary requirements yet? Did anybody, Robert Half, ask you that?
Yeah, he said something about a permit board.
A what? A permit board?
Yeah, he asked me about my salary.
Okay.
And he said it was for a permit board, so I did talk to him.
Okay.
To Matt.
All right. I'm not sure what permit board means, but did you tell him what kind of numbers are you looking for, or if you're not sure, would you mind kind of letting me know what your last was?
Yeah, if you will tell me the salary of the person whose job description is closest to mine.
Oh, I am not privy to that information, so don't know that I could give it to you even if I was, but I don't know. I'm not in HR specifically. As a recruiter, I'm of course part of HR, but only our HR people have access to that. I can try to find out what a range is for this role, and what we typically do, honestly, Steve, is we look at everybody holistically, and we look at internal parity. We kind of do, which is the question you just asked, obviously. What kind of, who am I closest to, and I would want to make, more or less what that person makes. So we would do that after the code test. We would kind of look at your experience, look at your education, and look at your actual abilities based on the code test, and then determine from there, what the range would be. But we also always want to know what know if you have any expectations. And if you don't, or if you're not comfortable sharing that, then we try to also get an idea of what you're currently making, and just sort of make sure initially I ask that question to make sure that there's that your expectations are more or less in alignment with what ours are. If you're saying to me, which a lot of people in UI will say, "Oh, I make 200K base at Google or Facebook or whatever," we would typically say, "This is probably not going to kind of work. We can't compete with those kind of numbers." So that's really why I ask so early on, especially with this particular role.
It's a good reason. I would say 45 an hour plus or minus $20,
Okay.
depending on a lot of things.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So 45 plus minus 20. And what about it for? And that's of course for a contract. And you are open to full time?
Yeah, full time would be great. I actually like the idea, of getting to really get into the details and refine some things that you don't get when you're on short-term projects.
Yeah, definitely.
There's something about owning a product.
Yep.
It's like you start to learn about your users in a much more defined way on a permanent job.
Definitely. Okay. And so you are open to that. That's good. All right. And your availability then I think the next step would be obviously for me to get the notes from our conversation to Vlad, and then see if he's open to having a phone conversation with you. And if so, then getting that on his calendar, and that would be a more technical screening. Or what I'm suggesting is that we start with the code test and see how you do on that, see how you feel about it, and then we go from there. The code test is it's 2 problems that I send you via email, and you have 2 hours to do the best you can, answer the problems, and get them back to me. And then if you want to continue, if you didn't get to finish for whatever reason, you want to continue to finish them, then take another half hour, whatever, and then send me that. Those answer that after completion, because not everybody can complete them in 2 hours. That's fine too, but we want to see what you can do in 2 hours. I suggest we take that as the next step, because that'll really tell all of us if this is a good fit for you. I think you would be fine if you want to take a little time to brush up, since you say you're a little rusty. If you want to take a few days or brush up, that's totally fine. But I would love to see you get to the code test phase. Are you open to that?
Oh, that sounds really fun.
Okay, great. So I'm going to basically manually send you this email. So I'll work with you. I would just ask that you please don't do it, before super early in the morning, or I'll do it up to 10 o'clock at night. That's fine.
So what is this?
Beyond that, a little tough for me.
Is this like a screen sharing test or something?
It is. It will be basically a 2-hour JavaScript coding challenge.
Okay.
2 problems, that we ask you to solve.
But you said something about the timing. Is this an interactive sort of thing?
Oh, no. It's just I send you an email that has 2 problems on it. You try to answer those problem statements to the best of your ability in 2 hours, and reply with your answers in 2 hours.
Yeah, it sounds fun. Is there a sample test? I'm just curious to see how you structured
we don't have any
this.
Sample test. I can send you the instructions, but we don't have any kind of a sample test.
Instructions would be great. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm very curious, what the environment is you're using for this. How do you do that?
Oh, sure. I can go ahead and send you the instructions, and then you can get back to me and let me know. Okay, send me the test. Tuesday at 7 p.m. or whenever. Whatever's convenient for you. See, I have your email address. No, I don't actually. I only have your phone number. May I have your email address, please?
Sure. It's anything you want. Let's call it Steve at stevewhetstone.com.
Hang on one second. Let me just get to. It's Steve at
Steve at Steve Whetstone. That's StevewHeTSTONE.com.
Okay. Steve at stevewhetstone.com. Okay, I will send you the instructions for that test, and then you let me know when you'd like me to send you the actual test.
Sounds great.
Okay. All right. Well, great chatting with you, Steve. I appreciate your time, and I'm sure we'll talk again very soon. And then once you send me the test, usually within 24 hours, I'll have the results from the reviewer, and then we go from there.
I have a condition for this test.
Certainly.
I get to screen record myself while I'm taking the test, and I get to use it in any way I want.
Let me talk to them about that, because we don't want anybody publishing the test, because then other people could find those results and use that to basically cheat.
Oh, that's a good idea. I didn't think of that. I'm not trying to cheat. I'm not trying to cheat. I just kind of thought it might be nice to share with
whoever sees. It wouldn't be you that would be cheating, because you're taking the test blind, so to speak. But anybody that sees your video recording of you're taking a test, if you can choose to use it any way you want, you could then publish it, right? So I don't think anybody would approve that. Frankly.
I think I just have to block out your mission statement or your actual question, because most of the work, I'll see when I get the instructions, but I think most of the work is going to be just like me creating some sort of JavaScript code online for you and testing it and prototyping it.
See the instructions and let me know what you think. But I think there have been people that have tried to find examples of our code test online, and we always know when they plagiarized, because they check, and that's an immediate. Not that you would. I'm just saying we've run into that, and we're just trying to make that not even a possibility for people, so it doesn't. They're not tempted to do that. So I just don't think that anybody would sign an agreement saying you could use a video image of you taking the test any way you wanted.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be for that.
Test,
yeah. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
I don't have to do that. I'll just take a recording of it for my own personal use.
Okay, that's fine. And that of course, what I don't know won't hurt me.
Right.
Okay. All right, Steve. I'll send that to you over to you right now. That email with the instructions, and then you can just reply when you get a chance.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye now.
wow. Probably not. Oh my god. This is just gonna be impossible. No. set up for JavaScript debugger. Well, hard to say.